Everyone has that one thing that defined their childhood. Maybe it was a song they loved to sing, maybe it was a favorite TV show, or maybe it was a place they liked to visit. For me, that one childhood-defining thing was the little gray lunchbox known as the Sony PlayStation. And yet, if it wasn't for the actions of a competitor, Sony would have never entered the video game market. My name is Breezy, and today we'll be looking at the history of the Sony PlayStation. The year is 1991, and the video game market is booming. At the top of it all stood two companies: Nintendo, with its Super Nintendo Entertainment System, abbreviated to SNES and known as the Super Famicom in Japan, and Sega, with its Genesis, known as the Mega Drive in Japan. However, Sega made a move that would change the entire industry by making a CD-based add-on for the cartridge-based Genesis. The main advantage of CD-ROMs over traditional cartridges was the ability to store up to about 750 megabytes of data compared to the measly 8 to 16 megabytes of available space on cartridges at the time. This extra space allowed for bigger and more complex games with better graphics, audio, and full motion video, at the cost of moderately longer load times. After decent sales of the Sega CD add-on, Nintendo decided they wanted a CD add-on for their system, the SNES. The problem was, they had no experience with the technology. Therefore, they would need to contract someone to make the add-on for them, and that someone was a company fluent in the hardware, Sony. Sony was famous at the time for producing the Walkman, a revolutionary device that allowed the user to listen to music on the go by playing CDs in a portable player with headphones. It was a very different era. However, Sony had worked with Nintendo before, having developed the Super FX chip, a chip that allowed for better graphics and near CD quality audio on certain SNES cartridges such as Star Fox. This is one of the reasons that Ken Kutaragi, an engineer at Sony who had become interested in video games after watching his daughter play the original Nintendo Entertainment System, known in Japan as the Famicom, accepted the contract. The contract was not exactly what Nintendo would have liked, however, as it gave Sony almost all the rights to the add-on. In addition, they would be able to make their own standalone console that could play both CDs and traditional SNES cartridges, which they decided to work on alongside the add-on. Because of this, while Sony worked on the console, Nintendo went behind their backs to try and negotiate a more favorable contract with another company. At the 1991 Consumer Electronics Show, after an estimated 200 to 300 prototypes, Sony dropped the bombshell on the general public regarding the collaboration of the two companies by unveiling the Nintendo PlayStation. The very next day, Nintendo was scheduled to make an announcement of their own at the show. Everyone expected this announcement to be a confirmation of the PlayStation's development. This made it even more of a shock when they revealed that they would be partnering with Philips for a CD add-on instead. Even Sony was blindsided by this decision, with CEO at the time Norio Oga calling it a humiliating betrayal. As despair filled the development team, Ken Kutaragi suggested that they continue to develop the PlayStation into their own console. Out of spite, Oga insisted that they continue to develop the PlayStation, and the team got to work on a new form of the system. In addition to the hardware, Sony knew that they would need great games. To encourage third-party support, they charged companies a low $10 per game licensing fee to create games for the system. The PlayStation logo went through over 20 variations before the final design was chosen. Several advertising campaigns for the system were launched, which included what is considered to be one of the greatest video game ads of all time, entitled Double Life.
For years I've lived a double life. In the day I do my job, I ride the bus, roll up my sleeves with the hoi polloi. But at night, I live a life of exhilaration.
Of missed heartbeats and adrenaline.
And, if the truth be known,
a life of dubious virtue.
I won't deny I've been engaged in violence, even indulged in it.
I've maimed and killed adversaries, and not merely in self-defense.
I've exhibited disregard for life, limb and property.
And savoured every moment.
You may not think it to look at me,
but I have commanded armies
and conquered worlds.
And though in achieving these things,
I've set morality aside,
I have no regrets.
For though I've led a double life, at least I can say
I've lived.
As well as other odd ads such as mental wealth.
Let me tell you what bugs me about human endeavour. I've never been the human in question. Have you? Mankind went to the moon. I don't even know where Grimsby is. Forget progress by proxy. Land on your own moon. It's no longer about what they can achieve out there in your behalf, but what we can experience up here in our own time. It's called mental wealth.
Strange ads such as these would become a theme with the PlayStation brand until the unveiling of the PlayStation 4. In 1994, the Sony PlayStation was released in Japan, and in 1995, the system was released in North America with a price tag of $299 or approximately $483.76 when adjusted for inflation. To put this in perspective, the PlayStation 4, released in North America in November of 2013, cost $399 at launch. In neither case was a game bundled with the console, but a controller was. Several revisions in the PlayStation's hardware were made throughout its lifespan, mostly regarding the ports on the back and the laser that read the CDs. Speaking of, the PS1 was capable of being a CD player, the cheapest available on the market at its release. This would also become a staple of the PlayStation brand, with each main console offering support for a new media hardware up until the PS4's release. Many great games were made for the PlayStation, including classics such as the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, the Spyro trilogy, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII, the first 5 Tomb Raider games, the first 4 Twisted Metal games, the first 3 Wipeout games, the first 2 Gran Turismo games, and many others, including the all-too-often forgotten Pac-Man world, which I'm definitely not biased towards or anything. The PlayStation was eventually succeeded by the aptly named PlayStation 2, but not before the original PlayStation 1 became the 3rd best-selling console at the time, and the 5th best-selling console as of this recording. The PS2, on the other hand, took the #1 slot after its lifespan, which it retains to this day. It's crazy to think that if Nintendo hadn't backed out of the deal with Sony, we may have never gotten a standalone PlayStation console. By extension, my childhood would have been completely different. I've been Breezy. Thanks for watching, and take care.